Rain chewed the jungle like 1,000 tiny teeth. A canoe whispered down a black water vein, and something paced the trees above. 4 paws, then 2 feet. The branches shivered and the night grinned. We were not alone beneath the green cathedral. We were being measured. You are watching whispering narratives, where the myths you dismiss knock politely before tearing the door off their hinges. Subscribe before the next full moon finds you. They told us the Amazon had no wolves. They were right. It has something worse, a penance with claws. Tonight we learned its true name, O Lobo da Selva. The river was a mirror until you looked into it. Then it went blind, swallowing your face whole and spitting back a darkness with the outline of you, and something behind you that wasn't there when you turned around. The outboard motor coughed once and died. The canoe drifted on momentum. A blade slipped from a throat. Wet leaves clapped. The forest breathed in slow, animal lungfuls. Humid air sliding over the tongue like the last thing a deer feels before the bite. There were 6 of us. Dr. Renata Vale, ethnobiologist, stubborn as a scar, chasing a plant that refused to be catalogued. Cinerea noctilux, a moonlit bloom the missionaries once called St. Ursula's candle. Tomas Ibirapuera, river fixer with a smile too white for a life this dark. Sister Ana Lucila, nurse with a rosary braided from a scythe thread and tiny silver teeth. Miguel Rojas, cameraman whose laugh cracked like a storm. Jojo Mendes, ex-logger turned guide. Shoulders like felled trunks, and me, Diogo Serra, the voice behind the recordings, hired to keep notes no one would read and to file reports no one wanted. Night rose like floodwater. The canopy stitched the sky shut, and the moon pressed against it from the other side, its white face smeared by leaves. Its light filtered to a color that didn't exist in cities. The jungle sang cicada hymns and frog psalms. Far off, a howler monkey rehearsed the apocalypse. Outboards fouled, Joe muttered, coaxing the pull cord with the tenderness you give a gun you don't trust. Hands in the boat, piranha don't love us. But they'll make do, Renata crouched, gloved fingers trailing the water. Smell that? She asked, metallic like a hospital floor. Sister Anna crossed herself so small it looked like a nervous tick. The river remembers harm, she said, as if it were a proverb. From the trees came a sound like rope pulled through a pulley or a tendon tightening across bone. A shape moved in the canopy, heavier than any bird. Lighter than gravity should allow, leaves shook, then stilled with the courtesy of something that knew we were listening and wanted us to know it knew. Jaguar, Miguel whispered, raising the camera. Joe shook his head. Jaguars drop. This one paces. The canoe kissed mud at a narrow bank. We debarked into soil that took us ankle deep and gave us back grudgingly. Joe staked the canoe and cut us a path through kapok roots and strangler figs. The camp glade appeared suddenly, an abandoned mission station, a chapel of palm and rusting tin, a bell swallowed by vine, and beside it a stone cross wrapped in iron bands crumbling into red lace. At its base, markings carved in circles, claw lines radiating outward like a lunar compass. Renata's smile was an icicle in heat. My bloom likes edges, graveyards, abandoned works, old stone, we're close. The chapel roof was dented in alternating impact points, 2-footed, then 4, then something that refused to be counted. Claw marks scored the kapok, 12, 15, 20 feet up. Behind the chapel lay a boneyard, capybara, peccary, coati skulls scored clean with parallel grooves. A rosary hung above them, crucifix gnawed. We pitched tents between buttress roots and decayed pews. Joe rigged motion lines with bells and soda tabs. Miguel kept the camera trained on the chapel door as if it were a tiger cage. Sister Anna whispered over the iron-banded cross. Then it came. The first howl, not wolf, not man, not jaguar. A chord of lung and moon and hunger. It started far off and finished inside my chest, vibrating ribs like tuned wood. The jungle froze, silence pooled, lightning flashed. Something tall and fast crossed the canopy. Shoulders bunched with a runner's economy, head lifted as if sniffing through layers of smell like pages in a book. The chapel roof bowed inward. A wet paw print smacked the cross. The iron bands sang under pressure. Rain thickened, and the bell thunked once more. The dark above answered with a sound that wasn't a word, but I knew exactly what it meant. Mine. The rain didn't stop. It only rearranged itself. Sheets one moment, needles the next. drumming on the tin roof until the chapel sounded like a dying heart. We lit no fire. Joe forbade it. Instead, the glow of headlamps carved pale wounds in the dark. Insects stitched themselves to the beams, wings sizzling against the hot bulbs until the smell of burnt chitin joined the perfume of rot. Renata worked by lantern light, scribbling notes, pinning damp specimens to wax paper as if the forest's humidity couldn't touch her resolve. "We document," she said, lips tight. "We prove what's here." But something was already documented. Miguel found the book, buried in a box under the chapel's altar, wrapped in palm frond and wax, sealed with a crucifix snapped in half. A leather ledger, swollen with damp, its cover crawling with black fungus that receded at his touch like something afraid. Inside, cramped Portuguese, ink blurred by age, margins scored with claw scratches that hadn't torn the paper, only kissed it, names of villagers, dates of disappearances, prayers written over confessions, one passage clearer than the rest, as if the ink had been renewed by some hand not long ago. O Lobo da Selva kneels each full moon to remember he was man, but the moon remembers only debt. We bind the cross in iron, we ring the bell with blood. We pray the circle holds, for if the circle breaks, the forest will hunt with two hungers. Sister Anna's lips moved silently, tracing the lines like rosary beads. "This was not written for history," she whispered. "It was written to remind them what they bargained with." Joe leaned in, jaw hard. "What bargain?" Anna met his stare. "Colonists cut the forest. They made pact with something old. To protect themselves, they gave it one of their own. A man cursed into a guardian, the wolf of the forest. Penance made flesh." Rain surged through the holes in the roof, the ledger's last page warped upward. Sticking to Renata's wrist, ink bled there like veins. She peeled it back and saw the relic. A rosary tucked in the spine, each bead a tooth, canine, yellowed, too large for any jaguar. At its center, a pendant of hammered silver shaped not as a cross, but as a crescent moon. "The teeth of St. Ursula," Anna said. Her voice had the weight of liturgy. "The missionaries carried them as wards. They said the wolf feared them." She touched one bead with a trembling finger, and for an instant her skin sizzled as if kissed by fire. Renata snatched the rosary. "Evidence," she said. "Triumph cutting through caution, biological confirmation. These are wolf teeth, but human-sized jaw structure. Proof." Joe's hand closed over hers. "Drop it." She jerked back, eyes blazing. "This is why we're here. To prove myth breathes." The forest answered with a sound. Not a howl this time, a thud, deep and deliberate. As if a weight had landed outside, another, then claws dragged across tin. Miguel raised the camera. Through the dripping lens, a silhouette unfurled across the roofline, taller than any man, broader than any jaguar, its fur slick with rain, its eyes twin embers burning through the downpour. It crouched low, muscles tense. A predator above the altar, then silence. The storm seemed to pause for it, to wait. The ledger's pages fluttered in a wind that didn't touch us. The rosary's teeth clicked like dice shaken by unseen hands. And from above, the wolf's breath rumbled down, a sound of recognition. It knew we had found its history. The tin bowed, the crossbands shrieked, and from the rafters came the first droplet of blood, warm, fresh, pattering on the ledger like ink renewed. The drop on the ledger spread in a crimson halo, soaking the parchment. The next landed on Miguel's lens. Smearing his shot into a red blur, he wiped at it, expecting rain. His fingers came away sticky, warm. The ceiling split with sound, metal shrieking, wood groaning. The weight above moved. Slow at first, then in a lunge. Tin bent inward. Nails snapped free like gunfire. Joe shoved us back, away from the door. Now. The chapel breathed once, as if it had lungs. Then the roof burst open. It fell in shadows and muscle, fur plastered to its frame by rain, claws curved and black as wet obsidian, teeth bared in a grin that wasn't a smile but a verdict. Its eyes glowed not gold, not red, but green, the green of things that rot and regrow, the green of river water under moonlight. Renata froze, clutching the rosary of teeth. Miguel filmed until the thing's gaze pinned him. Then his hands shook so violently the camera clattered to the floor. The wolf did not attack at once, its circled claws clicking on stone. Head tilted, sniffing us one by one. Every inhale was a catalogue. Every exhale a decision deferred. And then it chose, a blur, a crack. Thomas went down with his chest opened like fruit, ribs gleaming under lantern light. His scream was cut short when the wolf's muzzle crushed his throat. Blood sprayed the pews. The iron cross rang. As if it mourned, we stumbled back. Our boots slipping in holy water turned red. Joe swung his machete in a desperate arc. The blade caught the wolf's flank, slicing fur and flesh. It roared, a roar that shook dust from rafters and split the night choir of insects into silence. The wound closed as we watched. Skin knitted, fur returned. Blood vanished, Renata whispered, stunned. Regeneration. Cellular acceleration beyond. Her words ended in a snarl of her own, as the wolf's claws hooked her arm and dragged her toward the broken doorway. She clung to the rosary, beads of teeth rattling, glowing faintly in the storm's light. Where the beads brushed the wolf's flesh, it hissed and recoiled as if stung. Anna saw it. She lunged, seizing the rosary, pulling Renata free in a spray of mud and blood. The wolf recoiled, lips curled back. Eyes burning brighter, it fears the teeth, Anna gasped. Saint Ursula's teeth, blessed or cursed, they bind it. The wolf leapt to the ceiling again, claws finding purchase in tin and wood, hanging inverted like a predator unbound by gravity. From there it spoke, not in words, but in a guttural human echo torn through a beast's throat. Det. The storm answered with thunder. It dropped again, this time for Miguel. Joe pulled him back at the last second. Claws raked the air where his chest had been. The motion line of bells outside jingled, then snapped. Something else moved beyond the door. Shadows of more figures pacing the rain. There's more, Joe hissed. God help us. There's more. The wolf paused, ears twitching. It didn't kill again. It waited as if something greater had whispered hold. Its eyes found the rosary in Anna's hand, and for the first time its snarl bent into something like grief. Then it vaulted out, disappearing into the storm, leaving only Thomas's broken body steaming on the chapel floor. We gathered around him, stunned, shaking, unable to breathe, the air heavy with blood. His eyes stared at the ceiling, where the hole in the tin roof framed a slice of moonlight, and on that beam of silver barely visible, another drop of blood fell, not Thomas's, the wolf's. Joe touched it, still warm, still alive. It bleeds, he whispered. It heals, but it bleeds. That means it can be killed. Anna's grip tightened on the rosary. Not killed, she said, answered. The jungle exhaled as if it had been holding its breath. Somewhere deeper in the canopy, more howls rose, layered, overlapping, a chorus of hunger. The pact was not a story, it was a lineage, and tonight it had come to collect. We ran. The chapel's door burst outward as Joe shoved us into the storm. Rain struck like nails, blinding, deafening. Lightning painted the clearing white, showing us everything we didn't want to see. Claw prints gouged deep into mud, crisscrossing like roads on a map that led everywhere and nowhere. The jungle swallowed us whole. Joe hacked a path, machete flashing with each strike. Miguel clutched his ruined camera like a child. Renata stumbled, bleeding, the imprint of claws on her arm raw and swelling. Anna carried the rosary tight to her chest, her lips never stopping the litany of words too old for my ears. The forest was alive with pursuit, not just one, many. Shadows flickered in the canopy above, shapes running parallel, never showing themselves fully. Glimpses of fur, glints of green eyes, claws dragging sparks from bark. They herded us every few steps. The bells Joe had rigged at camp jingled behind us, breaking one by one, closer, closer. Don't look up, Joe growled. His voice was stone. Keep moving, they want us split. Lightning flashed again. For an instant I saw one of them full in the light, crouched across a liana bridge 20 feet up. Shoulders hunched, head cocked, eyes burning holes in me. Its jaw unhinged wider than a wolf's ever should. And in that breath between thunder it smiled. Miguel broke. His scream tore out raw. He bolted sideways, crashing through vines, flashlight flaring. Stay with us, Joe roared, but the jungle answered instead. The canopy cracked. A shape fell like a spear. Miguel's cry cut short. A spray of blood hit the leaves. The flashlight spun once on the ground, beam stabbing skyward as if begging for help, then was snuffed in a crunch of jaws. Silence followed, except for the storm. Renata wept soundlessly. Anna pressed the rosary against her lips. Joe swore under his breath, a prayer or a curse. We moved faster. Roots clawed our boots, vines whipped our faces. The jungle was no longer a place. It was a trap. a living throat swallowing us deeper. Another flash, another shape, this one overhead, leaping from tree to tree like a phantom cat. But heavier, always heavier, the sound of claws scoring wood. Then silence, then claws again. Closer, Renata stumbled. Her boot caught a root, and she pitched forward. Joe caught her arm, yanking her upright, her sleeve ripped, bearing the wound the wolf had left, even in the downpour. I saw it shimmer. Not just torn flesh, something crawling beneath her skin, threads of black spiraling out from the claw marks. Pulsing with the rhythm of her heartbeat, she noticed our stares. "It's nothing," she gasped. Just shock, but the jungle had its own reply. A howl tore through the canopy, lower, closer, hungrier, and Renata's body shook as if the sound had passed through her veins. We pressed on, stumbling into a stretch where the canopy split open and the moon poured silver like a wound-bleeding light. That was when we realized the rules, where the moonlight touched. They did not leap, they circled, they snarled, but they did not enter the silver pool. Anna lifted the rosary high, and the wolves in the shadows recoiled, their snarls twisted into a sound like weeping. The storm parted long enough for the moon to blaze brighter. And in that light we saw them all, dozens, crawling along branches, clinging to trunks, their eyes a forest of fire, each face half familiar, half beast, villagers, loggers, colonists, ancestors, a bloodline of debt, a congregation of the cursed. Renata swayed in the moonlight, her wound glowing faintly. For an instant her shadow lengthened, warped, sprouted ears and claws. "They're waiting," Anna whispered, "waiting for her." The moon slipped back behind storm. Darkness fell. The hunt resumed. The canopy closed again, drowning the clearing in black. Rain sluiced down, the silver refuge gone, and the wolves pressed nearer, their howls folded over one another. A braid of voices speaking in hunger and in memory. We staggered into the ribcage of a strangler fig, roots arching like the beams of a cathedral. Joe shoved us inside, his machete flashing to keep shadows at bay. For a moment the storm muffled, the air thick and close. Breathing louder than the rain, Anna pressed the rosary to Renata's wound. Smoke hissed where teeth met skin. Renata screamed, falling to her knees. The black threads under her flesh writhed, recoiling, then striking back, spidering higher along her veins. "It's in her," Anna said, eyes wide. "The debt chose her." Renata clutched at the roots, nails clawing bark. No, I am not theirs. I am science, not myth." Her voice broke into a growl. Her pupils stretched, round to slits. Her breath fogged, hot and animal. Outside, the wolves answered with a chorus of approval. Joe tightened his grip on the machete. "If she turns—" "No," Anna snapped, holding the rosary like a dagger. "The pact must be remembered first. If she becomes theirs, she may still bind them if she dies. Then we all do the ledger." Soaked and ruined, still clung to my pack, pages stuck together. But one remained legible. I tore it free, holding it close to the lantern. The words blurred, but the meaning burned. The wolf is not curse alone, but covenant, one chosen each generation. A guardian in penance, flesh in debt, break the pact, and the forest eats the world. I read it aloud, voice shaking. Anna nodded fiercely. "Yes, the pact of St. Ursula, one bound, wolf guards, carries the sin of man, keeps the others chained. Without the chosen, they all run free." Renata's body convulsed, every muscle tightening, bones popping. Claws erupted from her hands, tearing her gloves. Her scream turned into a howl that shook the fig roots. Eyes burned green, brighter than the others. The pack outside fell silent. Every glowing gaze in the canopy turned toward her. "Waiting?" Anna raised the rosary, holding it over Renata's bowed head. "If she accepts it, she holds them. If she rejects it." The wolves moved closer, claws scraping bark, pacing just outside the reach of light. Renata lifted her head. Her face was half gone, jaw stretched into muzzle, teeth sprouting through bloodied gums. Yet her voice came through ragged and human. "They want me?" Joe stepped forward, blade raised. His hands shook, not from fear but from choice. "Then give her to them and we run." Anna blocked him with the rosary. "No, she is not theirs, she is ours. The pact must be sealed through her." Renata's eyes darted between us, wolf-fire battling with the last of her humanity. Her voice broke. "Tell me, what do I choose?" The forest answered for her. From the dark came a single word, guttural and final, spilling from dozens of throats at once. "Debt." The iron sky cracked with lightning, and in that flare, I saw the truth. Every wolf bore the same scar. A cross-shaped wound burned into their chests, a brand of penance. And now the same mark blistered through Renata's shirt. Glowing like molten iron, the pact had chosen. Renata collapsed, her body shuddering, torn between curse and covenant. The wolves waited, crouched like an army at prayer. If she rose as theirs, the jungle would never let us out. If she rose as the guardian, it might chain them again. Anna knelt beside her, pressing the rosary of teeth to Renata's heart. Smoke hissed, flesh burned. Renata screamed one last time, then went silent. The storm died with her cry. The air stilled. Every wolf in the trees lowered its head. Renata lifted hers slowly, her face half shadow, half muzzle. Her voice, when it came, was both hers and not, I remember. The pact was alive again, but the hunger had not ended. It had only found a leader. The jungle held its breath. Every throat that had howled now fell quiet. Every claw stilled against bark. The storm seemed to bow. Renata stood in the heart of the strangler fig. Body caught halfway between the ruin of flesh and the birth of something older, her skin split like parchment under fire, fur pushing through, slick and black, her spine curved, bones re-knitting with sounds that did not belong in a human body. When she opened her mouth, her teeth gleamed like wet ivory. Too many for a human jaw, yet her eyes, those still flickered between scholar's steel and predator's fire. Anna pressed the rosary tighter against her chest. The silver crescent hissed against her skin, branding her with St. Ursula's sigil. Smoke curled upward, and the wolves outside whimpered in unison. A forest-sized shudder of submission. It accepts her, Anna whispered. She bears the mark, but Joe shook his head, machete trembling at his side. Look at her. That's not acceptance. That's possession, Renata straightened. Taller than before, shoulders broad, claws flexing. She looked at us, her lips peeling back in a grin that still remembered how to be human. I am the pact, she said. Her voice was a harmony of two, the woman and the wolf. They kneeled to me outside. Dozens of glowing eyes sank low. Wolves bowed their monstrous heads. The jungle roared with silence. Joe stepped forward, jaw clenched. Then command them to leave. Renata tilted her head. Leave. A laugh rattled from her throat, cracking into a growl. The pact was broken long ago. The debt has grown. Why should I forgive it? The wolves stirred, claws scratching bark, restless. Waiting for her verdict, Anna pleaded, rosary held high. The pact is not vengeance, it is balance. You must hold them back. Renata's eyes flicked between us. For a moment humanity surfaced, her mouth trembling. The scholar who had sought plants and proof. But then thunder cracked, and the moon tore free of its clouds, spilling silver straight into the clearing. The light hit her like fire. She screamed, half woman, half beast, body convulsing as if the moon itself dragged her across a threshold she could not resist. The wolves howled as one, the sound shaking leaves loose. Echoing through the river valleys, Renata's form collapsed forward on clawed hands. Her back split fully, fur bursting outward, muzzle elongating. She was no longer human at all, and yet the wolves didn't attack. They knelt lower, muzzles pressed to mud. She had become their alpha, their covenant keeper. Joe gripped his machete, knuckles white. We can't let this stand. She'll turn them loose on every village, every river settlement. Strike her, Anna hissed, and the pact dies with her. Then they all run free. Renata, no, the wolf Renata, turned her gaze on us. Her green eyes burned like lanterns soaked in blood. She lowered her head in mock submission, then spoke through fangs. One debt remains. She lunged. Joe met her with the machete. Steel flashing in moonlight, the blade sank into her side. Deep enough to spray black blood, she roared. Claws tearing across his chest. Joe staggered but did not fall, his blade dragging through her fur a second time before she swatted him into the fig's roots with a crack of ribs. Anna screamed his name, rushing forward, rosary raised. The wolves outside surged, claws breaking earth, but none entered the circle of moonlight. They waited for her command. Renata towered over Joe, her muzzle dripping blood. Her breath a furnace of rot and storm. Her claw rose, poised to finish him. Say it, Anna begged. Say the pact still binds. For an instant, Renata's face flickered, woman's cheek overlaid on Wolf's snarl, eyes softening, just enough. She hesitated. Joe coughed blood and met her gaze. If there's still any of you left, prove it." Her claw trembled, her jaw clenched. Then the moon blazed brighter, and whatever mercy had stirred was consumed. Her howl ripped upward, and the pack answered. The jungle had its verdict. The pact was alive. But it was no longer balance, it was conquest. The howl tore through the canopy, and the jungle bent beneath it. Branches shook loose of leaves. Monkeys fled, screaming into the night, and the very air seemed to vibrate with obedience. The wolves poured down from the trees like a living avalanche. Claws shredding bark, eyes burning in rows, muzzles slick with hunger. Yet none crossed the moonlit circle. Not until Renata, our Renata, now towering, fur-sodden, breath steaming, lowered her head in judgment. She raised one claw, black with Joe's blood. And the pack froze. "Dead," she growled, the word breaking her throat into two voices. Collected, they surged. We ran, but the jungle was theirs. Wolves slammed into roots around us, herding us like cattle. One snapped at Anna's veil, tearing it free. Another slashed across my pack, ripping the ledger to pulp. The storm became chaos. Howls, screams, claws hammering earth. Joe lay broken against the fig roots, chest rising shallow. His machete still gripped white knuckle. As Renata strode toward him, he spat blood and laughed. The sound jagged and wet still. "Human enough to hesitate," he rasped. "That's your weakness." She lowered her muzzle to him for a heartbeat. The scholar's face flickered there again, eyes wet, lips trembling. Then the wolf consumed it. Her jaws closed, and Joe's laughter ended in silence. Anna raised the rosary high, stepping into her path. The beads glowed brighter now, teeth sparking like embers. She screamed words I didn't know, old Latin fractured into prayer, each syllable a blade. The wolves recoiled, whining. Renata snarled, but when her claw struck the rosary, it sizzled against her flesh. Smoke curled up, a roar of pain splitting the night. The pack whimpered. Confused, some backed away, tails low. As if remembering the pack's older shape, Anna's voice broke, but she forced the words louder. "You are bound. In Ursula's name, in the moon's debt, you are bound." The rosary shattered in her hands. Beads of teeth spilled like rain. Silver crescent cracked in two. The wolves surged forward again, emboldened. Renata's muzzle split into a grin. She lifted her head and howled, the forest answering like a cathedral of predators. Anna looked at me. Her face was pale, her eyes shining with terror and resolve. "Run," she said. "Tell them, tell all of them, or it never ends." Then she threw herself forward, clutching the broken crescent, driving it into Renata's chest. Smoke burst in a column, white fire tearing fur and flesh. Renata screamed, claws raking Anna open. But Anna did not let go. Both collapsed together, writhing, vanishing into flame and shadow. The wolves howled in grief and fury. Some tore at the earth. Others flung themselves against trees, lost without their chosen. Their voices shook the storm into silence. Then, one by one, they melted back into the canopy, eyes dimming, until only echoes remained. I stumbled through the jungle alone, mud sucking my boots, heart beating louder than the insects behind me. The clearing burned faintly, not with fire, but with a pale lunar glow, as if the moon itself had left a scar on the earth. At dawn, the river found me. The water was black, the reflection blind. I drifted downstream, broken, clutching the ruined ledger. Now I speak these words as record. As warning, they say the Amazon has no wolves. They are wrong. It has one, and it remembers the debt. The werewolf of the Amazon still walks, and when the moon finds the canopy again, so will the pack, and for those who hunger for more. Step deeper into the shadows with our ultimate werewolf horror playlist, linked in the description below. In the world of horror, the scariest things happen when you least expect them, and trust me, you don't want to be left in the dark. Welcome to the darkness.